Bum bum. Dragons, dragons, dragons. I love drawing dragons. I draw dragons a lot, like a lot. So basically, I wanted to draw a lot of dragons. I picked 3 that are from movies and media that I enjoyed as a kid, and to this day have influenced some of my artistic endeavors. I don't know, I draw dragons like all the time. Like every time I don't know what to draw, I just draw a dragon. So this first one here is Haku from Spirited Away, which is a movie about this kid who accidentally gets lost in the spirit world and she has to find her way out and find her parents, more importantly, who got turned into pigs in the first movie, in the first act, because capitalism. Yeah. Also, I wanted to do them in different styles just because I don't really have a set style, and so I like drawing in a lot of different ways, and I thought it'd be a fun challenge to like do everything a little bit differently. This first one, obviously, I'm very focused on the line art and very, very particular about it. I would say that this is probably the way that I draw the most. Like, the most of what I do looks similar to how Haku ended up turning out. Oh, and obviously Haku is the dragon of this story. He first appears as just a boy in the spirit world that Chihiro, the main girl, becomes friends with, and eventually finds out that he's a dragon, and also finds out that he saved her life in the real world at some point. This movie obviously it's really amazing. It's still one of my favorite movies to this day, and I watched it when I was a kid, and it also came out the same year that I was born, so it's like as old as I am. But also this really got me into anime and such at a very young age, and I just think that the influence this movie had on me when I was a kid was immense. And for that, yeah, dragons. I love dragons so much. I think I've said that a lot, but like, oh, it's such a problem. Like, actually, I feel like all my professors are so fed up with me because all I do is make things with dragons in them, or everything I do has like some sort of dragon influence. Like, I make scale patterns and I just draw them. Yeah, everything I do, somehow it always leads back to this concept of whatever a dragon is and what it means to me. Haku was probably the start of that obsession as well, because he was like the first dragon that I saw on screen when I was a kid. That I remember, to clarify. But also, since he's like an Eastern dragon and I saw him so young, this kind of like imprinted on me that dragons aren't things that need to be killed or slaughtered or things like that, which is a very Western concept of what a dragon is, like a monster that needs to be slain. And so I never really understood it to an extent. Like, I kind of get it, but like, I just find it kind of boring when dragons are portrayed as the evil monster that needs to be destroyed by the end of the story. Yeah, I just think there's more things that you can do with them than just like killing the dragon, which thankfully, like, that's starting to go away in more modern media. That kind of notion is fading out of popularity. But yeah, there he is. The next one is Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. He is another... I liked Toothless so much as a kid, mainly because of his design. Like, I thought his design was just like peak, because he's just like this big old shapy creature that's completely black, and it just looks like a little void. Because I also like black cats a lot, and he's modeled after a leopard, I believe, or like a panther. And so for this style, I also took that into account with like the big shapes and the fact that he's completely black. So instead of doing real line art, I just blocked in all of the black, and then I went in with a eraser and just detailed out his scales and like his scales and like his eyes and stuff, and his wings. And the fun part about the style is that you can kind of just pick and choose what you want to show and what you don't want. One thing about this style that's a little bit difficult is knowing when to just stop adding things. And that's kind of what I have trouble with his face design, because I kept adding these scales and then taking them off because they just didn't look right. And sometimes you know, less is more. Sometimes you just need to stop and like take a big step back and just look at everything and be like, I don't need this. And bleh. So yeah, it's just kind of like a back and forth constantly trying to figure out what is what. And this one took me, I think, the least amount of time. Probably. But yeah, carving out, I don't know, I wanted to look kind of like a stamp as well. I don't know, the vertical framing for Western Dragons is like so difficult to work around because they have like these big old wings, right? And you really want to capture the feeling of their bigness and like their proportions and stuff. So trying to keep it all contained and confined in this really, really, really vertical framing was kind of a challenge, and to like get all of the details I needed while also like leaving a lot of it just up to the imagination basically. I really wanted his tail in this shot, which is why I ended up shrinking the entire thing down so that I could add his tail, because Toothless's tail is like a huge part of his character and the plot. But yeah, I don't know. I was so obsessed with this movie as a kid. Like, when it first came out in theaters, I actually went to see it. I like begged my mom to let me go with my brother to his friend's birthday party, which is like the most wild thing I've ever done. Because like, why would I do that? I don't know. I was a kid. I really wanted to see this movie and my mom wasn't going to take me to the movie theater. So I was like, okay, my brother's going to see the movie, so I just have to go with him. But yeah. Okay, this next dragon is quite different from these other two, both in style and where the dragon comes from and my thoughts about this one. And basically, this is Glory. Well, her name is Glory, and she's from a book series called Wings of Fire. And I read this book series when I was like middle school, high school age. It was like right after I finished Warrior Cats for like the 6th or 7th time. I was craving some new content, and lo and behold, one of the authors who wrote the Warrior Cats books wrote this series, so obviously I was like, yes, yeah, I need to read that actually. It's pretty good. I mean, it's like a kid's fantasy series, so you know, what can you expect? All of the main characters are dragons. There's like no human characters, which for me at the time, huge draw. Yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but I like that. I thought it was the coolest shit ever. And Glory, out of the main characters. Okay, also this book series is like still going on, I think, or it like just finished or something. I only read the first 6 books because like how a lot of these series are structured is like they're in 6-book arcs. So I only read the first one. I never read this. Well, I read the first book out of the second arc, but then I never finished it because I didn't really give a shit anymore. I kind of like moved on with my life. But for the first 6 books, Glory was like my favorite character because she was an unassuming badass in the first book, and that just stuck with me the whole time. And I also remember that I had the 3rd book, like I had bought the 3rd book, which is Glory's book, like it's her perspective. So I read that one the most as well. Like the other ones I just rented from the library. And the way that the cover art for these books literally influenced the way that I draw dragons is, it's like a 1-to-1, like a direct influence on how I draw dragons was because of the book covers. Because these book covers, they were so pretty to me. I don't know. They look amazing. Like, I love the style and I love the design of the dragons. So they were just like, yeah. Good shit. Also, Glory, yeah. Unassuming badass. She is a camouflaging dragon. Her species of dragons, which are the rainwings, are like, a lot of them are perceived as like super lazy and they just like to sit in the sun and they eat fruit and they're not very dangerous at all compared to the other ones. And so because of this, when the party gets captured by, spoilers for the first book by the way, but it's been out for like so long so it doesn't matter, but when the party gets captured by this evil queen of the Skywings, they all get put into these prison cells up in the air. While Glory just kind of gets, like, she doesn't really get in prison because the queen just thinks she's a pretty thing. So she just kind of leaves her alone on a rock. And then she ends up spitting acid in the queen's face and melting her. And almost killing her. I thought she was dead for a long time. Everyone did. But basically, she's cool. I liked her. Her personality was my favorite. What an icon, honestly. Also, she's just like a bad bitch, but whatever. This style, it gave me so much hell. At first, I was gonna try and replicate the style that the book covers were in, because I like it so much. But then after a little bit, I was like, alright, whatever. Because I am not a precise, like I don't draw precisely very much. I can, but only with line art. Like once it starts getting into like rendering territory, it's just like hands off. No, we're not doing it. We're gonna do what we do. Which a lot of times is just like texture, more texture. Put in some lines, throw in some chaos. Because I love doing stuff like that. Sometimes I don't really like how it looks, but I love doing it, and that's what matters, is you do the things that you love. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters if you like it when you're doing it. That's all that matters. So this style kind of turned into that. I do like how the scales turn out. Not so much like her belly scales are a little bit. I would have made it a brighter color, but I was also just going off of the colors that she is on the book cover, because that's just like her standard. This is what she looks like. Since she's a chameleon, or since she can change colors and camouflage, she can basically be whatever color she wants. But I thought that these colors were pretty nice anyway, so here we are. And that is it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Hopefully I actually have stuff planned. Oh my god, it's not gonna be another 5-month wait. Ah ha 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 ha. Goodbye.